He was just a skinny kid in Hong Kong, constantly getting into fights and feeling like he had no real direction, until one day, he made a decision that would not only change his life, but would eventually change the way the entire world views human potential. You might think you know the legend, the flying kicks, the lightning-fast strikes, the movies that defined a generation, but the truth is, the most incredible part of his story didn't happen in front of a camera. It happened in the quiet, brutal, and often painful hours of the morning, long before the rest of the world even woke up. What was the secret? It wasn't some mystical power or a hidden technique passed down by ancient masters. It was something much more accessible, yet infinitely harder to maintain. It was a form of self-discipline so intense, so unflinching, that it didn't just build his body, it forged his reality. And as we dig into how he actually did it, you're going to realize that the same path is sitting right in front of you. But I have to warn you, once you see what it actually takes to become a legend, you might not look at your own daily routine the same way ever again. Imagine growing up in a place where you're surrounded by chaos. Young Bruce wasn't a hero yet. He was restless, often getting into trouble, looking for a way to channel an energy that felt way too big for his environment. But then, he discovered something that clicked. Martial arts weren't just about fighting, they were about control. He realized that if he couldn't control his own mind, his own reactions, his own body, he was a slave to everything around him. And that was a thought he refused to live with. So, he started a transformation that sounds almost impossible. We're talking about a man who treated his body like a high-performance engine, constantly tinkering, upgrading, and testing its limits. He didn't just train, he obsessed. But here's the twist. Most people think his training was all about aggression. It wasn't. It was about flow. It was about adaptability. He was training his mind to be like water, formless, shapeless, but capable of crushing whatever stood in its path. Do you know what he did every single morning? He didn't jump straight into the ring. He started with a level of introspection that most of us are too afraid to touch. He wrote down his goals, not just as ideas, but as concrete, non-negotiable commands to his own future. He was literally engineering his own destiny. And every time he felt like quitting, every time his muscles screamed for him to stop, he reminded himself of one thing. The pain of discipline is always, always less than the pain of regret. But let's pause for a second. We've all set goals, right? We've all had those Monday mornings where we swear we're going to change our lives. Why is it that Bruce Lee actually did it, while most of us just keep resetting the clock? It comes down to a fundamental shift in how he viewed failure. For Bruce, failure wasn't a stop sign. It was a diagnostic tool. If he couldn't break a board, he didn't call himself a failure. He analyzed the angle, the force, the mental state, and he adjusted. He treated his life like a laboratory. And here is where the story gets really intense. Most people know him as the master of the screen, but his true obsession was his daily philosophy of the path. He wasn't just learning how to punch, he was learning how to simplify. He stripped away everything that didn't serve his purpose. If it didn't make him faster, stronger, or more focused, it was dead weight. Can you imagine doing that in your own life? What would happen if you cut out just 20% of the noise, the distractions, the junk food for your brain that you consume every day? He pushed his body to points that modern science still debates today. He would perform hundreds of push-ups with only 2 fingers. He trained his reaction time until it was practically superhuman. But why? Was he trying to show off? Not exactly. He was trying to eliminate the gap between his intent and his action. In his world, if you think, you're already too slow. He wanted to reach a state where his body responded to a threat before his conscious mind even had time to get scared. Now, think about your own life. When you decide to do something, how long is the gap between your intent and your action? Is it an hour, a day, a week? Bruce Lee lived in the zero gap zone. That is the true heart of the legend. That kind of speed, that kind of power, it all came from the discipline of immediate action. And yet, there's a secret about his training that almost nobody talks about. Around the middle of his journey, he hit a wall that almost ended his career. An injury that doctors said would leave him permanently unable to walk properly, let alone fight. This wasn't just a setback, it was a death sentence for his life's work. Most of us, faced with that, would have folded. We would have accepted the narrative, settled for good enough, and maybe turned to bitterness. But Bruce, he saw this as the ultimate test of his philosophy. While he was bedridden, unable to move, he didn't stop training. He turned his focus inward. He used that time to write, to study, to meditate on the nature of combat and the nature of the human spirit. He essentially retrained his entire mind while his body was shattered. And when he eventually stood back up, he wasn't just a martial artist anymore. He was a force of nature. He had realized that your body might fail you, your circumstances might trap you, but your mind is a fortress that only you can surrender. That shift, from, I am a fighter, to, I am a student of reality, is why he became a legend. It's why his words still resonate decades later. He wasn't talking about combat, he was talking about how to survive being human. He showed us that greatness isn't an act of luck, it's an act of will. It's the result of showing up when you're tired, showing up when you're hurt, and showing up when no one is watching. People often ask, what is the Bruce Lee style? And the answer he always gave was the most profound one: the style of no style. He meant that you have to be you. You can't be a copy of someone else. You have to take what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. That is the final stage of true self-discipline. The courage to be authentically, unapologetically yourself, no matter what the world expects of you. And that brings us to the most powerful moment of his life. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a movie premiere. It was a realization that he didn't need the validation of the world to be a success. He already was one, because he had conquered the only person who mattered, the version of himself that wanted to take the easy way out. He had become his own master. If you're watching this, feeling like you're stuck, feeling like your discipline is slipping, or feeling like the mountain you're climbing is just too high, remember Bruce. He wasn't a god. He was a man who decided that he wouldn't accept the limits that others tried to place on him. He turned his pain into power, his uncertainty into focus, and his life into a masterclass on what it means to be alive. So, here is my question for you, and I want you to be really honest. If you took even 10% of the discipline he applied to his body and applied it to your own most important goal, what would your life look like in 1 year? You don't need to be a martial artist to be a legend in your own field. You just need to be willing to start today. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Today. The journey he started in those dark, lonely streets of Hong Kong is the same journey that's calling to you right now. The obstacles are different, the stakes might feel smaller, but the requirement is exactly the same: consistent, unyielding, relentless action. You have that potential inside you. The question isn't whether you can, it's whether you're willing to pay the price of admission. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. The only difference between you and the version of yourself you admire is a series of small, disciplined choices that you haven't made yet. And the beauty of it is, you can make the first one right now, in the next 10 seconds. As we wrap this up, think about what "be like water" really means for your life today. It doesn't mean being soft. It means being fluid. It means when life throws a brick at you, you don't just stand there and take it. You flow around it, you use the energy, you keep moving forward toward your goal. The water doesn't stop because there's a rock in the stream. It just finds a way. You are that stream. You are that power. And your legend. It's waiting to be written. But it won't be written by your thoughts. It will be written by your habits. It will be written by the things you do when no one is watching, when you're tired, and when it would be so much easier to just give up. That is the Bruce Lee way. That is the way of the legend. Are you ready to stop waiting for permission? Are you ready to stop making excuses? Because the clock is ticking, and the version of you that could have been something great is waiting for you to catch up. Don't let that person down. Take that first step, embrace the discipline, and watch how quickly the world opens up for you. After all, if a kid from Hong Kong could redefine the limits of human achievement, what exactly is stopping you? You have the tools. You have the time. You have the fire. Now, go be the legend you were meant to be.